hand strengths.
There's too much mass behind you that you're asking small limbs or small digits to control, and then also too much of your heart has got to pump too much blood through that tissue. There's like a point of diminishing returns when it comes to size.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things that you saw when you'd see Cain Velasquez fight guys. Cain Velasquez has always been in that sweet spot of about 240. 240 to me is about as big as you want to get. Because the guys over 240, man, they might fuck you up in the first few minutes, but you take them into that 4th and 5th minute of the first round, and then they're huffing and puffing, and in the second round, they're getting their asses kicked. And the Cain Velasquez storm was one of the more fascinating things to watch in all my years of the UFC, because he was a heavyweight that had the cardio of a lightweight. But he was, again, 240 pounds.
A well-marbled 240 pounds. So he's not like he was a lean, you know, he had some, he always looks a little bit.
He had a lot of Mexican food.
He had some rice and beans on his ass.
You would see Cain eating lunch, you would be like, for real? Like, you're like one of the elite heavyweights ever.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there with fucking 10 tacos and shit.
And, you know, that's a talent, too. Having that kind of sustained energy is a talent, just like some guys are super flexible and some guys are super strong and explosive. And some guys just have that, they have that range. And what is it? It's medium twitch muscles, right? It's medium twitch.
Slow twitch, yeah.
Well, no, there's slow twitch, which is I'm a marathoner.
Right.
And then there's fast twitch, which is I'm an Olympic weightlifter. But in recent years, they've said there's actually something in the middle. Medium twitch, which is I'm strong, but I can go for a long time.
That's interesting. I didn't know about that. But it makes sense.
And that's what a guy like Cain is, because Cain, like you said, I mean, for him to be able to get in there and go 5 rounds pushing around another guy that weighs 260 pounds,
yeah,
that's beast mode right there.
There's a lot going on with Cain. I think one thing is going on is genetics. He has incredible genetics, and they like Bob Cook would tell me that Cain would be out for months, like he had an injury and come back and just outwork everybody. Like he'd just have insane cardio. So maybe it's also that his base was so rock solid that his out of shape for 3 months is everybody else's, you know, peak condition. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why he was able to overwhelm so many people. But also, like, when you see Cain execute things, he's never straining. Like, Cain, everything is perfect technique. There's no like grunting and forcing anything. There's no like crazy looks on his face and windmill punches. Everything is clean and crisp, and it's all like very efficient movements.
He's a machine, and obviously that comes from training hard. And is that training hard too hard? Has he been training too hard? Is that why he's all dinged up and missing fights because of injuries?
Well, there's also like the mind. Like his mind is so strong that he's able to overcome the feeling of pain. But sometimes like elite athletes, especially fighters, they can't distinguish between what is just like dings, like everybody gets dinged up, but something that's a significant injury. Like, hey, you've got a compromise in the structure of your body. If you keep pushing it, you're going to blow this knee out, you're going to fuck this disc up, you're going to need surgery. And Cain's had a gang of surgeries now. Shoulder, knees, back. And now, you know, he's been out for quite a while with this most recent back issue. So it sucks because, in my opinion, it's like him and Fedor. You know, those are the two greatest heavyweights of all time.
Interestingly, similar body style. 230, 240, well marbled.
Fedor at his peak had like the ultimate dad bod. He had like a dad that used to play rugby, you know? But they'd fuck guys up.
They'd post those videos though of him training in Russia, running with his buddies and swinging kettlebells, and you're like, yeah, this guy works hard.
Oh yeah,
hard,
no doubt. He just probably ate shitty food.
Yeah,
and tons of it, you know. But it's also like their methodology is just different. I mean, he was like very, very old school with his methods. Like he was doing kettlebells, but way before CrossFit or anything came to America. I mean, there's an old school picture. See if you could find it, Jamie. Back when he was jacked, like he got smaller as his career went on because he stopped doing strength and conditioning as his body got older and focused more on skill work. But there's this ancient picture, not ancient, but there's this picture of him standing there shirtless around a bunch of kettlebells.
Old kettlebells, yeah. I remember that
like
picture.
2001 or something like that, you know?
Yeah. And the thing that I think that he really had was he had a good, his skill in my mind was that he was a really good grappler, he's a really good striker, but the way he mixed them together, you would see him just like hit somebody in the face and then judo throw him and then arm lock him or choke him, and it was all just so smooth. I don't think anyone knew what to defend, because if they defended one thing, if they defended a grappling move, they were getting punched in the face. If they defended a punch, they were getting taken down.
Yeah, he was something special, man. And you know, he was something something special for quite a long time too. I don't think anybody can keep going longer than like. I mean, there's like a time that you can compete at the highest level. Some folks think it's about 8-9 years. That like, and after 8-9 years, the highest level, like nobody's body holds up. Yeah, it just all falls apart.
And you know, as much as I'm talking good about Fedor and his style and everything, let's face it. What was the best about Fedor was his attitude when he would just come in there with no emotions,
dead
just
face.
Raise his hand, dead face. You know, they'd introduce him, he'd just raise his hand, he'd destroy someone, and he would have the same expression on his face like before he fought. He just had total absence of emotion. That was, to me, that's what I always thought. Yes, Fedor. That's why Fedor's right up there at the top of my list.
Yeah, there's the picture.
Exactly.
Just jacked, standing around a bunch of fucking iron cannonballs with handles on them.
And those aren't some little kettlebells either.
Yeah, I bet that picture alone must have sold millions of dollars in kettlebells. People saw that picture and they're like, I gotta get some, man. But he also was very smart in it. That's his brother, actually.
Yeah.
He was very smart with his training where, you know, he spent some time in Holland.
Yeah, those are great.
Him and his brother, like, way back in the day.
Get a picture of his brother now. Get a picture of Alexander now.
He just got out of jail.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to fight again. His brother was a bad motherfucker,
he
too,
was.
man.
He was.
He's an animal.
He's got the...
There's something about Russians, man.
For sure.
They're a different kind of white people. They're totally different. They're so much different.
Well, it's the hard upbringing.
Oh, yeah, man. Diamonds. Diamonds made out of pressure.
And the other guy that comes to mind when we're thinking about old school fighters that really, it wasn't just his skill set, which was unbelievable, but Sakuraba. Because the way Sakuraba, his craziness.
Oh, yeah.
And just to go in there and just have that incredibly playful attitude.
Also, chain smoked and drank through his entire camp. Chain smoked and drank.
Yeah. I went out with him in Japan after one of his fights one time.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd he do?
He was just getting after it.
But that attitude of not giving a fuck is like, that's what worked so well for him inside the ring.
Yeah, well, I know we see this all the time with fighters. We see it with anybody that is going to live out on the fringe like that. They're going to have some sort of offset. There's for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So if you get a guy that's living that far on the edge like Sakuraba was, that edge just doesn't stop when he gets out of the cage, right? He's going and gonna get after it more.
Yeah. He had some horrible losses though. Oof.
He got used and exploited worse than anyone else, right? I mean, worse than any other fighter. No one has been exploited and put into those horrible fights where he just wasn't out. I mean, he was just outmatched. He was old. He wasn't trained right, and they would just put him in there and just let him get destroyed.
Well, his knees were mangled, so he would wrap his knees up like a mummy.
Yeah.
They were horrible, and you knew that was a real injury. Like he couldn't move so good. His knees were all wrapped up and fucked up, and then they put him in there with Vanderlei. And Vanderlei knocked him out, what, 3 times? Brutal KOs? I think at least twice. I'm trying to think if it's 2 or 3 times. But, and then Melvin Manhoef. Ooh. And he was soccer kicking him, because you could soccer kick in Pride and stomp. Yeah, he had some really tough fights. He's apparently doing a grappling super fight now. I think he's grappling.
He grappled Henzo.
Yeah,
in Metamoris.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of, you know what? I was actually thinking of Shinya Aoki is going to grapple with Gary Tonin.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah, they're going to have a straight up grappling. Yeah, Gary's going to fuck him up most likely. But Aoki's good, man.
Yeah,
especially now. Aoki.
For sure.
But it's a big difference between guys who are good in MMA and guys who are good at like straight up grappling.
Yeah. And the training vids of Gary. He's just training. All he does. He's completely obsessed with jiu-jitsu. I love it.
Yeah.
And he's doing rope climbs, and that's all he does. So
well, he's also being coached by John Danaher, and he's a part of that Henzo Gracie crew in New York City. Yeah. And that Danaher Death Squad, man, you want to talk about a real, like, wizard of jiu-jitsu. Danaher understands. His Instagram posts are some of the very best Instagram posts on the internet.
I got to follow him then.
Oh, you got to, man. His breakdowns of certain techniques and matches and what went well, what went wrong, and what's required of athletes and how to excel, and the difference between an athlete in competition versus a difference in training. That's one of his most recent things, about putting yourself in bad positions and working on your weaknesses as opposed to just continuing to push your strengths.
Yeah. Well, that's a big one. The fighters that are good in training, but they're not good in the cage. And there's other fighters that are they kind of get beat up in training, but then when they get in the cage, they rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
And I got to see that a bunch with a bunch of different fighters over the years that I trained with, and you'd say, this guy's going to do okay, but then they'd get in the cage and boom, they would just turn it on. They elevate themselves. And then some guys that are crushing everyone during training, they get in the cage, UFC fight night or whatever, and they just can't get it done that night, even though they're crushing people in the training.
Yeah, there's so many factors, right? And I think some of them are also the ability to overcome adversity. And with really talented guys, they didn't really have to overcome that much adversity because they were good really quickly. Like guys who had massive physical advantages.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, once they faced other people that also have physical advantages but were tougher, they would just fall apart. They would just wilt. Yeah, it's so common.
Yeah, you got to get that, and we got some guys this guy at the gym right now who's he's a mutant. He's a mutant. Like, he's so strong. What was it? He shot on me the other day. I sprawled on him, and so he's on all fours, and he fights at 185. I'm on all fours, and he picks me up with one hand. Picks me up and slams me and gets across side, and I said, bro, did you just shot put me right there? and
he's 185. What's he walk around at?
He walks around at 200, 205. Typical.
And he picked you up with one hand?
One hand, but not with his back, but with his arm. You're going to see him, Taylor Johnson. Watch out for him.
What is his background?
He wrestled. But this is the thing. We know this, right? There's wrestlers that are great wrestlers, and they're okay at jiu-jitsu, but they can't quite make that transition. And their striking's okay, but they can't quite make that transition for whatever reason, whatever gift he's got. So the other day we were training, and he's been training. This was a few months ago. He's been training